Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we are going to learn something about the while loop. Now we have already learned about the for loop, and we have learned how the for loop can be used to repeat a set of code multiple number of times, and we have also used the for loop to print out numbers from 1 to 10. Now while loop also performs the exact same function, but the syntax for while loop is a little bit different. So in this lecture we are going to use the while loop to print out numbers from 1 to 10. So in a while loop, you actually need to have a variable to keep track of the number of times the loop executes. So the very first thing which we are going to do here is that we are going to create a variable which is going to be called as counter. So I'm going to type in counter, and I'm going to set the value of counter to 0 because right now at this moment we have not executed the while loop even at once. So after this we could go ahead and type in the syntax for while loop. So for typing the syntax for while loop, we type while, give a opening and a closing bracket, and in this bracket we need to specify a condition. So this condition is somewhat similar to the condition which we use in case of an if. So here what we need to make sure is that as we want to print out numbers till the range 10, you need to specify a condition which is going to check that this loop is actually going to get executed only 10 times. So here we make use of the counter variable which keeps track of the count. So here we type in while counter is less than 10 and give a colon at the end. So what this essentially does is that it checks if the counter value is less than 10, and if it finds out that this condition is true, it is going to execute the code which is written inside the while. Now inside it, what we want to do is that we actually want to go ahead and print out the values from 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. So we simply type in print out, and we essentially print out the values of the counter itself. And also make sure that you follow the indentation syntax provided by Python. That is, you should have a space worth of tabs here before you start writing any line of code in the while loop. So we have already written the first line of code in the while, that is to print out the value of the counter. So what we need to do here is that whenever this loop executes for a single time, we need to increment or increase the value of this counter variable by 1. So in order to do that, we type in counter plus equals 1. So the reason why we are doing this is because what we want to do is that we actually want to keep track of the number of times this loop executes. So the initial value of counter is going to be 0. Then after having this initial value as 0, the code execution is going to start from here. So this is going to essentially check a condition that is the counter value less than 10, and yes, it is in this case less than 10 because 0 is less than 10. So it is going to print out 0 over here. Now after printing out 0, it is going to jump on to the next line, and it is going to now increment the counter value by 1. That means the new counter value is going to be equal to 1. Then again, as this is a while loop, the execution is going to start from here. And now as the counter value is 1, again it is going to check for the condition if 1 is less than 10, and yes, it is. So it is going to jump on to this code. Again it is going to print out the new counter value which is 1. And again it is going to come back here, increment the counter value by 1. Now the counter value is going to be 2, and this is going to repeat unless and until the counter value is going to be 10. So when the counter value is going to be 10, this condition turns out to be false, and hence this loop actually terminates, and henceforth the entire program terminates. So in order to check how this thing works, let's save the code and let's run it. So as you could see, we got the result from 0 to 9 because as soon as we get the counter value to be equal to 10 here, this condition is no longer satisfied and it is not going to print out the value of 10. So in order to actually have a value of 10, what you need to do is that you need to modify this thing a little bit. So rather than having the condition as counter less than 10, let's make it as counter less than or equal to 10. That means this condition holds true even if the value of the counter is equal to 10. So if we save the code and if we execute it, as you could see, this time we also got the value of 10 in the while loop. So that is how you basically create a while loop in Python, and this while loop can be used to repeat a set of code multiple number of times. So whatever code you want to repeat, you could simply go here and you could have your code here, and that code is going to be repeated as many number of times as you want. And also make sure that you write the proper syntax in order to avoid this, so that would be much better. So that's it for this lecture, and I hope you guys understood the significance of using a while loop. And also I guess in Python you don't need these brackets over here for writing the while loop, and even this thing is going to work because this is Python and you don't actually need to mention unnecessary stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.